Hey, True Believers England team here, and we're going to be talking about the worst TV shows that were released in 2022. So this list was made up, obviously, of only the ones that I have seen. I did kind of divide the list a little bit because there are the TV shows that I did not like, but I completed, and then I figured the ones that I didn't complete had to take that top 10 or top 12 list just out of respect. I'm sorry. If I was able to finish a show, I think it's a lot better than one that didn't intrigue me enough to finish. But with all that aside, let's get this party started.
Number 24. From Amazon Prime, we get The Boys Presents Diabolical. It's an animated anthology TV show that is a mixed bag, like a lot of anthology TV shows. You get some good, you get some bad, you get some stuff that really tries to forward the story, but then again, you get some stuff that is just there to be the boys, like comic book boys, where it's just gross or it's crude just to be gross or crude. Once again, this is not a completely bad show. That's why it's starting the list. But overall, I was a touch disappointed with it and kind of wish they could have pushed the stories forward just a bit more than they did. Number 23.
The DMZ, starring Rosario Dawson and Benjamin Bratt. And gotta tell you, first, this show starts off really strong as you see a woman who is going into the demilitarized zone of America. They very vaguely explain how this came about, but apparently her son's stuck in the demilitarized zone, so she's going in to try to save him. Problem is, it's like 12 or 13 years after she lost him in the area, and he's kind of changed into a certain assassin type for his father's mob. So it starts off strong, but by the end, it sort of falls apart. There's a lot of coincidences that need to happen. At one point, you've got Rosario Dawson trying to manhandle Benjamin Bratt, and that ain't going to happen, guys. So it does ask you to take one leap too far. Overall, I truly wanted to like this TV show, and did right up until the last episode, and that's why it's at number 10 on this list.
Number 22. I contemplated, should I put a cooking show in here? It's Next Level Chef. It's a great premise. It's kind of like the movie The Level, where the people who are doing the best have the top level. They get first choice of all the ingredients, and the people on the bottom level just have to do with what they got, and they don't have the right equipment and everything. And this was really a cool way of doing a cooking show, right up until the end, where they seem to have just tossed it out the window and became a regular old cooking show. Once again, it's on the top part of this list. I didn't exactly hate it. I think there's room for improvement, but man, what a wasted great premise for a TV show. It was actually interesting to watch people have to cook with a one-burner stove, and they've got like cow's stomach to work with. But man, I just wish they had confidence in their own concept, and I wish they had carried through with it. Number 21. The Book of Boba Fett. Man, look, I've heard a lot of people rail off on this show, and some of it is very deserving. One thing I barely hear about is the fact that it's Boba Fett himself, man. I'm sorry, all respect to Tamara Morrison, he's too old for this story. This is supposed to take place right after the events of the Return of the Jedi. He's just old, and he's moving around slow. He's supposed to be a badass, and you never really get that feeling that he's a badass. Unfortunately, that's the biggest problem. Now you just compound all the other stuff, and it makes for a slow and boring show, and that's what's worse about it. Come on, do better. When the best episodes of your show is about another character from another show, you know you're in trouble. Okay, kids, let's start this top 20 worst TV shows of 2022. At number 20, we have The Moon Knight. This is a show, like all the ones that came before in this list, I kind of liked. But man, this never lived up to the hype of its first episode. I thought that was just so clever. and so much fun. And Ethan Hawke, by the way, makes for a very good villain. You have a lot of great ingredients in this show, and they seem to have squandered it by being afraid of actually showing Moon Knight in a TV show that's called Moon Knight. Not bad, not horrible, I'm not mad, I'm just very disappointed. Number 19. ObiWan Kenobi. Man, I wanted to like this. I was so wanting to like this show. I mean, come on, they brought back Ewan McGregor. Dude, he was really, and he is good in this role. Let's face it, Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor was not the weak link in this show. The script was, holy crap, did they make a lot of script mistakes in here. The new characters weren't good. There's just a lot of missed opportunity in here. It's a great looking show, and from some, it's a very well acted show, but man, talk about missing the mark. Number 18. Tales of the Walking Dead on Amazon Prime is just, it's another anthology show. Look, I kind of enjoyed some of the segments here, but then again, some of the segments just ended up falling flat. And that's the danger when you make that kind of TV show. Terry Crews is really good. I like the Samantha Morton kind of expanding on the Alpha story. But like the time jump, the time loop story at the beginning was trash. I didn't understand the Anthony Edwards character when his own points of view were contradicted in his face daily. It just didn't seem there. So once again, not a horrible show, but it is a very mixed bag. Coming in at number 17. All right, kids, let's talk about She-Hulk, which probably tops a lot of people's lists. But at the very least, I finished it. Therefore, I can't put it in my top 10. Because, oh man, there's worse shows. And this one, look, I wanted to like it. I actually enjoyed the first episode. I actively liked the second episode, which set up the show. But then it never lives up to its promise, which is kind of a running theme. I enjoyed seeing lesser-known villains in this. I just wish it would have been the courtroom procedural comedy that it promised to be, but never did, by admission of the writers, because they didn't understand the courtroom process. Well, get experts. Also, this show was, once again, confessed by the writers to be only written so they could stick it to actual fans of the She-Hulk comics. Alrighty, kids, coming in at number 16, we have Resident Evil, which I have to tell you probably commits the worst crime. At least She-Hulk had some sort of entertainment value. This is boring. There's some good creature designs, and I love the guy who played Albert Wesker in this. He is awesome. But otherwise, the characters are horrible. It bounces back and forth in storylines and timelines, and it just doesn't land anywhere. It doesn't mean anything. And ultimately, it becomes completely forgettable, and that's the worst sin of all. Taking the number 15 spot, we got a TV show that really my wife made me watch, and I ended up following it to the end, and that's Inventing Anna. And I gotta tell you something, while I was watching this show, I actually kind of enjoyed it. I mean, I think, what's her name here from the Ozark was very impressive in the role. But ultimately, after it was done and as time goes by, once again, just like the Resident Evil, what I said about that, I just tend to forget about it. I remember the character seems really annoying, and I remember Anna Chomsky from My Girl from the 90s is in it, but otherwise I was just thinking, holy crap, did this girl really fool all of these businessmen and everything? And I thought, beyond these performances, beyond the outlandishness of it, I couldn't remember a gosh darn thing that happened in it. Not a bad story, not a horrible story, but man, not a good one either, I guess. Taking the number 14 spot, we have I Am Groot. And look, I'm gonna get so much hate on this one, but I'm not a big fan of Baby Groot. Sorry, I understand he is marketable. You could plushie the hell out of this character, so they do all these short vignettes. It looks like a big old Looney Tunes cartoon. And if that's your thing, have at it. It's, once again, we're not up to the absolute horrible, but this is not good in my opinion. Not just on the moral level I'm trying to put it at, but I wasn't exactly laughing at the antics. I mean, God bless you if you like this kind of thing. It just didn't land for me. Obviously, you're looking at it. It's a beautifully shot show. The CG is good. It, once again, just not my bag, baby. Okay, let's go and take a look at lucky number 13. Way in the beginning of the year, there was a parody movie called The Woman in the House Across the Street from the Girl in the Window, and it was trying to make fun of all of the tropes of those Gone Girl kind of movies. I think even Amy Adams was roped into one. It was kind of a parody, or not a parody, but it was a ripoff of Rear Window, and that's what this is as well, but they're just parodying the hell out of it, and it's good while it's doing that, but eventually, as a lot of shows on this list do, it drops its concept and ends up becoming what it is parodying. And unfortunately, it's not good enough to do that. It was okay as a comedy. It was a very subtle comedy, by the way. You actually have to understand what you're watching in order to get a lot of the jokes, but at least it worked while it was doing that. But unfortunately, like I said, halfway through, it drops that and just becomes dull. Coming in at number 12 is a TV show that begs the question, hey, superheroes are great, so why don't we give one to Diamond Dallas Page and call it the Guardians of Justice? And they did that. Here it is. Look, this one's bad, but at least it has the excuse of only having a budget of 15 cents. Otherwise, like Diamond Dallas, he does his best. I don't think he was horrible in it, but goodness gracious, the script is god-awful. And I get it. They didn't have money for special effects, so they had to cheat here and there. But it's just kind of dull. There's no energy. It's a very lifeless kind of TV show. I wanted to like it. I did end up finishing it just out of kind of a respect for the superhero genre, but unfortunately, it failed. The number 11 TV show confounds me because at one point in time, this guy was the funniest dude and could do no wrong. This is The Pentaveret by Mike Myers. Look, Mike Myers is a very clever guy. I mean, come on, he comes up with The Pentaveret. But unfortunately, he didn't come up with a lot of jokes in this comedy movie. And that is bad. I mean, do you remember? When does it become a point where you got to start looking at the stuff he did in the past and asking, was it ever really that funny? This is sad. This is, okay, this character was funny. He was funny as this character. Beyond that, though, this is just sad. I just wanted to end this, and I wanted to take Michael Myers out, just put the pillow over his face, say, okay, just let it happen, let it happen. You have a news reporter who's uncovering a huge conspiracy, and along the way, shenanigans are supposed to happen, but unfortunately, in the end, none of them are funny. Remember those shows I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I didn't finish and they sucked? These are them. Number 10. Halo, the television show. All right, movies based on video games tend not to do very well. I watched the first episode of this show and I wasn't seeing Halo, in all honesty. I mean, it was an okay action film, I guess. But from what I was seeing, I'm like, you know what, this is just going to disappoint me. I could see it already. I don't know how much time I really want to invest in this. And I said, you know what, I'm going to step away for a little bit. When they get a few more episodes under their belt, I'll binge watch, and I never went back. Never had the desire, and from what I heard from others, that was a good decision. Coming in at number 9... the Netflix original movie, The Watcher, which I heard, oh my gosh, you gotta check this out, it's so good. It's about a family who moves into a house and the creepy neighbors try to chase them out, to the point where they send a video to the wife of the husband sleeping and some woman comes in and rapes him and she's like, you had an affair. That's when I dropped it. I'm like, nope, sorry, I'm not getting into this. See, this is what's called a dummy plot. That is when the characters have to be a dummy in order to do the things that they do in order to make sure that the plot moves forward. It's a bad script and it's a waste of some really good actors. All right, kids, let's see what's behind the 8-ball. After seeing Legends of Vox Machina, I'm not going to be embarrassed anymore by asking, what the is Vox Machina? I have no idea. Well, apparently it's a D&D group that got together and they started making jokes as they played the game, got famous, and now they have an animated series, which I can only imagine They got the show out of pity. This is not funny. It wasn't exciting. Oh my, I barely made it through the first episode. I wanted to, but apparently crude humor for crude's sake is the soup of the day, and unfortunately I don't like that flavor of soup. Coming in at number 7, little confession time. I like Modern Family, I like Sarah Hyland, and I liked Adam What's-His-Name and their chemistry. So, okay, Pitch Perfect. I'm not a huge fan of the movies, but they didn't offend me or anything. So let's see what this Bumper in Berlin thing is all about. Well, it's all about jukebox musicals and unfunny jokes. I mean, once again, the characters are charming. I mean, this Adam guy here, I gotta say, is really watchable and other things, but unfortunately they're writing a bad script, and when you write a bad script, it just, there's not a lot you can do to fix it. Occasionally actors can ride to the occasion and make it better than it actually is, but unfortunately that just doesn't happen here. Alrighty kids, number 6. They should be ashamed to do a comedy so bad you make Randall Park unfunny. And what's her name? Michelle Famero from frickin' Brooklyn Nine-Nine. That show was hilarious. These are funny people, ladies and gentlemen. They're put in such an unfunny show. The characters are okay. I mean, granted, they end up becoming very quickly a bunch of caricatures instead. But overall, I would follow these characters in a more funny show, but they just don't have it here. It's dull, it's boring, it's lifeless, it goes nowhere, and plus it has JB Smoove, and he hasn't been funny ever. And I'm from a generation that loved the video store. Blockbuster was a daily, if not weekly, trip for me. So I was in, and then they pushed me out. All right, gang, number 5, let's talk about it. Even though I don't like the comic, I was willing to give Naomi the TV show a try. Hey, maybe they're going to show me something I haven't seen in the character before. Maybe they're going to do something different. Maybe they're going to expand on it, and something awesome is going to happen. So I watched that first episode, and I was bored out of my freaking skull. I couldn't even make it through a freaking episode because I was bored out of my freaking skull. Now, I've always said, yeah, I'm going to go back. I'm going to give it its shot. I'm going to give it its chance. Man, I have not been able to make that leap. Why? Because I was bored out of my freaking skull. Coming in at number 4, by the end of How I Met Your Father, I was disappointed in the fact that I could tell already we're not going to get something as good as How I Met Your Mother, which is sad. Is there no way they could write a female comedy like that in the same vein? And how would she look, by the way, if she's doing all the things that Ted Mosby did anyway? Which he was the brunt of a lot of jokes. Would they be able to do that to Hilary Duff? Unfortunately, by the end of the episode, I had not laughed once. I don't like the characters. I don't like their relationships. And in the end, it's just an unlikable show about a whole bunch of unlikable people. Coming in at number 3... Okay, I was wrong. God's Favorite Idiot is the worst comedy. And I can see something here. Melissa McCarthy, give her a good script, she's great. Give her a bad script, she lowers herself to it. She doesn't try to raise it up to a better status. No, she actually will lay in the dumps with that freaking bad script, and that happens here, where she's acting next to her husband and finding there's no chemistry between these two married people at all. Gosh, once again, wanted to like it because of Melissa McCarthy, but unfortunately did not. Number 2, National Treasure, The Edge of History. Look, I understand wanting to get a younger cast. Nicolas Cage is in his 60s, for Christ's sake. You want the franchise to keep going, you need to young up that cast. I get that, but oh my gosh, could you at least write them? If you're going to have them as a group, write every character as an individual and don't have the main character just walk all over them. Give them a reason to be. Unfortunately, that's not done here. And the main character is nobody she doesn't have the charisma to hold a movie, much less a TV show. And the number 1 worst TV show of 2022 is... Yeah, you probably saw this one coming, didn't you? Okay, so I agree with the masses. What can I say? The Rings of Power, I watched the first episode. Or let me tell you what happened. So I watched the first episode. I'm getting mad because they made Galadriel just a whiny bitch. Holy crap, did they mess her up. And at some point in time, she's kicking the shit out of all of her friends after she sees out of a cave troll, after she sees him kill a couple of her friends. And then she whines and she's just... And it just bothered the... I mean, I ended up falling asleep. Woke up and there's this black elf. And he goes into a tavern and I fall asleep again. There was nothing that really kept my interest in this show. I fell asleep twice during this freaking first episode. I'm sorry, that's not going to make me want to watch a second. Okay, kids, there you go. That's my worst TV shows of 2022. What did you think? Let me know what your worst TV shows were in the comments below. Don't forget to do all the clickings and the likings. Sharing is very important, and commenting a little bit more than saying hello. Just, give us a little, well, I thought this about that. And that'll definitely help the algorithm. Thank everybody who's already done that to everyone. All of the true believers and film fans out there, thank you very, very much for watching.